The US tech stocks feel unstoppable. The top 10 tech stocks reached a record market value of $20.5 trillion in June. Just three stocks, Nvidia, Microsoft, and Apple, reflect half of that total. This also marks a $3 trillion market cap recovery since April lows. So collectively, the top 10 have gained over $12 trillion in value over the last 3 years. Since 2012, the stock market cap has grown an average annual rate of 23.4%. Big tech is the stock market, which again is a huge chunk of, the overall, big boys as far as that is concerned. This is huge. The top 10, stocks make $20.5 trillion of valuation. That is 10 times what Bitcoin's valuation is. And that just gives you a better understanding where this digital asset is going and why there is so much interest right now for, the markets. So the reason why I'm showing this to you guys is because I want you guys to understand stocks are soaring. Companies, these big tech companies are going towards the upside. S&P 500, NASDAQ 100 reached an all-time high. Gold has been reaching an all-time high. Altcoins are next, in my opinion. But if we're looking across, today, July 2nd has been an amazing day for the crypto markets. Double-digit gains, reminds us of the good old time just at the beginning of the year and, of course, late last year where we were seeing the market soaring. This right here is a perfect example of that right in front of us. We're seeing slowly but surely, obviously it has a long ways to go, I should be saying that, but we are starting to make some progress. So XRP is up about 3.5% with the price currently sitting at $2.24, down about 0.2% in Bitcoin comparative. Market cap 131.8 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $3.7 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So AWS global infrastructure will support the XRPL. The session will provide an overview on the benefits of AWS global infrastructure and a recent open source project aimed at simplifying the deployment of self-managed XRPL nodes on AWS. Strongly encourage you guys to watch this video if you want. So a new era has arrived for digital assets, especially Ripple and XRP. You guys can see this for yourself. This was on CNBC. You can see they had the XRP chart on, and it's at $2.26, up 4.2%. They're talking about pretty much covering how Ripple applies for a bank charter, which again itself is one of the biggest news that we could hear. We speak about flip the switch event. That is a perfect example of a flip the switch event really taking place. Ripple's not playing around. The continuous development over the course of the last years is finally starting to pay off as more and more people around the globe are starting to, adopt cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, tokenization. All of these things are happening at once. So much happening at once. It is having a positive impact, of course, and people are starting to realize, projects that have been building over the past, decade. Ripple is obviously one of them. People are starting to pay attention to those projects. Hence, we're seeing institutional demand coming in as well as, of course, retail. Moving forward, President Trump says Fed Chair Jerome Powell should resign immediately. Obviously, because of the fact that, Jerome Powell has yet to cut the interest rates. A lot of people are frustrated about that. Now, Donald Trump has been coming out and saying quite publicly that, hey, Jerome Powell needs to cut the rate. And now it's not even about cutting the rate. He wants him to be retired. And we know there's an FOMC meeting coming up this month. And if we still don't see a rate cut, that could really cause a lot of people to, get frustrated. Let's see what happens. I personally think we are going to see a rate cut in September. That's just my own personal opinion. Obviously, if we see one this month, great, amazing. It's going to be a huge turning point for the broader market if we do see an interest rate cut, because we're talking about an interest rate cut for the first time in more than 2 years, guys. Yes, you've heard that correct, which itself would be quite an interesting thing. But look, Crypto Inside UK says XRP looking for a 3-day close above $2.30 and then above $2.50. Pretty much his targets are very close to my targets as well. You guys know I've been emphasizing that $2.33. That's the level I'm currently keeping an eye out on. Not the $2.30 exact. I'm focusing on the $2.33. Everyone has their own ways of analyzing the charts, but if you've been following my channel, we actually saw that resistance 3 different times for XRP at that $2.33 that I'm referring to for you guys. You guys can see this for yourself. 3 different times. 2 wicks. Once was on the June 6th. Once was, of course, on the 30th. Both time rejected. You can clearly see that this is not a small zone to be looking out for. Once we pop it out of the zone, I think that pretty much opens the door for us to push up to the $2.50, even $2.60 in my opinion. Moving forward, Robinhood CEO Vlad says while it's true that there aren't any technically, that they aren't any technical equity, the stock tokens will give retail investors exposure to private assets like OpenAI and SpaceX. He adds many companies are eager to join the tokenization revolution. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. To private assets. Private assets. This is where tokenization comes into play and changes the game. And why do we talk about tokenization? Because XRPL is by far one of the best places to tokenize assets. It's that one-stop shop. If you dig deep into it, you understand that it is a revolutionary thing that could really help a lot of these organizations tokenize. But look what Matt Hogan says, the Bitwise CIO, the value will be driven by fundamentals and not speculation. He's pretty much saying that, he also drops, a major bombshell that we are no longer in the 4-year cycle anymore. He's thinking that, that no longer exists, pretty much meaning that we're not going to see a bear market as to what we have seen in the past. I think altcoins still are going to be impacted quite heavily, in my honest opinion. Maybe if we see the introduction of ETFs, the coins that will have ETF, they'll hold better than the broader market. But majority of the meme coins, I still personally think are going to see crazy drops once the bear market historically happens. That's not going to change in my opinion. But why are we talking about this? The fundamentals, projects that have massive utility, I think those are the ones most likely you're going to be getting the ETF approval, and those are the ones that are going to hold better than the broader market. And guess what? We're seeing that happening already. Look at the way XRP has held its ground. I don't care how many times I have to repeat this. This is something what a lot of people overlook, but not on this channel. XRP has held its ground nicely within the 38-point Fibonacci retracement level since November. Speaks a lot of volume regarding its strength. As far as dominance is concerned, 65.26%. We want to see the dominance drop in below 65%. That's very important. Bitcoin is currently hovering at 108,900 mark. We did close our daily candle above the 108,800 range, which is a big thumbs up. Bitcoin still on the verge of breaking towards an all-time high and could potentially do so if we are able to clear above 110. I think we could see a new all-time high even possibly this week. Do let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. We'll see you later at some Crypto ZX and peace out.